Why poor people live in financial fog. Most poor people don't wake up thinking, "Today I will make bad financial decisions." They wake up tired. They wake up stressed. They wake up already behind. And from that state, everything they do with money feels reactive, not planned, not intentional, just trying to survive the day. This is what financial fog looks like. Financial fog is not about numbers. It's about not knowing where you are. You don't know how much money you actually need to feel safe, how long you could survive if something went wrong, what your money is meant to protect, what problems it's supposed to solve. So every decision feels heavy, not because it's big, but because it's unclear. People think poor people lack discipline, but discipline doesn't work when you don't know the direction. Imagine driving in thick fog. Even if you're a great driver, you slow down, you hesitate, you make mistakes. Not because you're bad, but because you can't see. That's how poor people live with money. They earn, they spend, they worry, but they don't see. They don't see the full picture, only flashes. A bill here, a purchase there, a balance that makes their stomach tighten. So instead of clarity, their brain chooses avoidance. Avoidance feels safer than understanding. Not knowing feels better than knowing something uncomfortable. That's why people say, "I'll check later. I'll deal with it next month. It's not that bad." But fog doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It gets thicker. Here's the dangerous part. When you live in financial fog, your brain fills the gaps with fear. If you don't know your runway, you assume it's short. If you don't know your buffer, you assume there is none. If you don't know your real problem, you assume everything is a problem, so your nervous system stays on high alert. This is why poor people feel anxious even when nothing is actively wrong. Nothing exploded, no disaster happened. But they still feel tense because uncertainty is exhausting. The human brain hates not knowing where the ground is. Most poor people don't have a money problem first. They have an orientation problem. They don't know. Am I okay right now? How bad would one mistake be? What actually matters financially? So they treat every expense like a threat and every desire like guilt. Think about this. Two people earn the same amount. One feels calm, the other feels constantly stressed. The difference isn't income, it's clarity. One knows what their minimum survival number is, what expenses are flexible, what can wait, what actually scares them, and what doesn't. The other just feels pressure everywhere. When everything feels important, nothing is intentional. So money leaks, not dramatically, not in one big mistake, but slowly. Subscriptions, convenience spending, impulse relief, not because they don't care, but because fog makes precision impossible. This is why poor people often say, "I don't know where my money goes." They're not lying. They genuinely don't know because they've never been oriented. They were never taught to see money as a system, only as stress. Financial fog also destroys long-term thinking. When you don't know if you're safe, you stop thinking about tomorrow. You think about relief. So you spend to feel okay. You avoid to reduce stress. You delay decisions because deciding hurts. This isn't irresponsibility. It's overload. Here's something uncomfortable but true. Many poor people are mentally exhausted, not financially uneducated. They make decisions while tired, while anxious, while emotionally drained. And decisions made in that state are rarely good. Financial fog also creates self-blame. People don't say, "I live in uncertainty." They say, "I'm bad with money." They internalize the fog as a personal flaw. That shame makes clarity even harder because looking closely now feels like proof of failure. So they stay vague. They estimate instead of calculate. They hope instead of plan. They distract instead of face. And over time, the fog becomes normal. Here's the trap. The longer you live in financial fog, the more money feels like an enemy, something unpredictable, something always about to hurt you. So even when you earn more, the fear doesn't go away. It just changes shape. This is why raises don't fix anxiety, because more money in fog just creates bigger shapes. You can't see clearly. More expenses, more obligations, more pressure to maintain. Without clarity, growth feels dangerous. Financial fog also ruins confidence. When you don't understand your situation, you don't trust yourself. You second-guess every decision. You avoid responsibility. You feel behind even when you're not. That lack of self-trust is expensive. Let's be clear. Financial fog is not stupidity. It's not laziness. It's not a character flaw. It's what happens when stress meets uncertainty for too long. Clarity is uncomfortable at first. It forces you to look, to define limits, to see trade-offs, to admit reality. That's why people avoid it. But avoidance has a cost, and that cost is staying poor longer than necessary. This video is not asking you to budget, not asking you to invest, not asking you to optimize. It's asking you to notice something simpler. If your money feels heavy, it's probably because it's unclear. You don't need more motivation. You need orientation. You need to know, where am I standing right now? Until you answer that, every move will feel wrong. Poor people don't live poor lives because they lack effort. They live poor lives because they live in fog. And in fog, even the strongest people walk slowly, hesitate, and get lost. In the next video, we'll talk about something harder, not just why poor people live in financial fog, but how that fog actively keeps them poor. Because confusion isn't neutral, it's a mechanism. For now, just notice this. If thinking about money feels overwhelming, it's not because you're weak, it's because you can't see clearly. And nothing feels safe when you don't know where you are.